for the black-white mid-range deck for Charlie Mitchell. He's got Nyx Fleece Ram in his main deck, Bramaz in his main deck, you know, High Sentinels of Arshin as well, Wingmate Rock. He's got some cards that are an absolute disaster here for Jacob Shaker in his mono red aggro deck.
I'm pretty sure that the last time we were here in Worcester, Charlie Mitchell made the elimination rounds of our Legacy Open with Burn.
You do remember.
I do remember this.
Well done. He did make top 8, actually top 4 with Legacy before being dispatched by the mighty Dan Jordan.
No shame in that.
Yeah, he's a skilled magician. And Mitchell's off to a nice start here at 4-0, and he's got a deck that looks to be pretty good against a mono-red aggro deck, as long as he can get his feet set. Again, 3 copies of Nyx Fleece Ram, 3 Bramaz, 2 copies of 100-handed one. Oh, 2 High Sentinels.
This deck is going to be really good against mono-red.
Yeah, 2 High Sentinels
one
of Arishin, 3 Wingmate Rocks, and he's got some removal spells in Hero's Downfall, Bile Blight, a couple of Elspeths, which are really expensive for the matchup, of course, and then 2 copies of Sorin Solemn Visitor as well. If he can get his feet set, he's good to go, but it's going to be tough.
I've played against a deck like this with mono black, and it was the closest I have come to nearly breaking my laptop over my knee.
Nice.
Just every single card they have is very hard to beat.
It's an Akron Crusader to start things off here for Shaker. Looking to give the beatdowns early and often. Mitchell's going to cast a Thoughtseize. Shaker's going to show a Mountain, another Crusader, a Titan Strength, a Hammer Hand, and it looks like a Stoke the Flames.
So this has a very, this is not exactly Boss Sly kind of red, but it definitely has a heroic element to it. Crusader Hoplite alongside the Crusader, and Mogus's Warhound is one of the threats.
See what Mitchell wants to take here with the Thoughtseize. I believe Charlie weighs in at, 72 pounds, and I believe he's 10. We'll get confirmation.
I think a little older than that, if I recall correctly, but
can't remember. 13. I shot a little low.
Listening to a 13-year-old with 100-handed one is pretty close to my nightmare.
See what the draw is. It's a Wooded Foothills here for Shaker. There's a Mountain.
I was pretty surprised to see Jacob not Titan Strength in his own upkeep there, because he already had his mana set up for the turn with what he was going to do, and it feels like scrying right away is pretty valuable.
And not sure how much he actually wants to draw another land in that situation. He will Titan Strength, target the Akron Crusader. Of course, their Heroic Trigger will put a 1/1 Soldier with haste into play. Gonna leave the card on top, it looks like, in Fire Drink Crusader and come crashing in here for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 points of damage. And pass the turn back, will Shaker over to Mitchell. So Mitchell is obviously underneath the gun right away, as he did cast a Thoughtseize to lead things off as well. He's gonna play a Temple of Silence. Top card's gonna go to the bottom, so he's gonna take it on the chin again this turn. Again, the draw for Shaker is a Fire Drink Crusader. We know that. Here's an attack here for 3 points of damage. Mitchell's going to go down to 10. I think we're just going to see a couple more threats. Yeah, there's that. And the backup, the last card, excuse me, is a copy of Stoke the Flames.
Yeah, Stoke is a really good answer to whatever follow-up Charlie's going to have here, and might just be able to barely curve it out.
There's a copy of Bile Blight, so there's a little 2-for-1 action.
All right, that is much better than Bramaz this turn.
This is true. Bramaz, you would think would be great, but because of Stoke the Flames, would not be so good. Shaker's going to sacrifice the Wooded Foothills, get a Mountain out of his deck, thin it out a little bit at the cost of a life. And we'll see what he's able to find for his draw step. Again, last card in hand is a copy of Stoke the Flames. And that's another copy of Stoke the Flames. So here's an attack for 3. And he's going to pump 1, so it'll be an attack here for 4.
I'm not actually that big of a fan, I think, of attacking with both when you draw the second Stoke there. I think you just attack with the Fire Drink Crusader and pass. So you Stoke on tap Stoke. Because now this turn, if Charlie plays a blocker, it is slightly awkward.
It's a little bit problematic.
I mean, it's hard for this game to go too wrong for Jacob from this stage, but he is incurring some risk.
The thing is, it's not impossible. That's the big thing here. Shaker going to draw a card. It's a copy of Dragon Mantle. I'm going to go Cantrippin. See what this finds here in just a second. Looks like it may have been a copy of Titan Strength. Don't want to get too creative, though. Plains is the draw. Mitchell will deploy that Plains. That's land number 5. See another high Sentinels in the grip. Vermaz as well. I think the last card is a copy of Read the Bones. None of those are too great in this situation.
Yeah, Charlie's got a lot of sideboarding to do in this matchup.
He definitely has some cards that are quite good. In game 1, again, he's got main deck Nyx Fleece Rams. But he's got some cards that are quite mediocre. As here's a Stoke that's going to go upstairs. Put Mitchell down to 2, and this last Stoke should finish things off here in just a moment for Shaker, as he will draw a card and cast the other Stoke. So Jacob Shaker is going to win game number 1 here over Charlie Mitchell. Mono Red Aggro up a game here over Black White mid-range. The both players going to head to the sideboard. We will do the same. And you've got Mono Red in front of you, but I'll take a look at Black White first. Let's see 3 copies of Soldier of the Pantheon, 2 Empty the Pits, 2 Despise, the 4th Nyx Fleece Ram, a Last Breath, a Hero's Downfall, a Silence the Believers, another End, an Elspeth, a Liliana Veil, and a copy of Mass Calcify. Love the Nyx Fleece Ram and the Last Breath, of course. I can certainly see an argument for the 2 copies of Despise, maybe swap those out for these Thought Seizes. And then 3 Soldier of the Pantheons, while they're not great, I think they're perfectly fine. It's just something that trades with a creature.
If Charlie's able to get to, turn 5, turn 6 with his life total intact and the board close, he can win with whatever he wants to. It doesn't have to be anything particularly good. So anything that allows him to block or stabilize the early game is going to be good for him. So even though Soldier isn't set up exactly for this matchup, I think it might be the best card in his sideboard.
What do we see on the red side?
A Blinding Flare, 4 copies of Eidolon of the Great Rebel, 4 copies of Searing Blood, 4 Goblin Rabble Master, a Harnessed by Force, and another Stoke. I like bringing in the 4th Stoke here because, you're playing against this Black-White deck, probably has Vermaz. You've seen high Sentinels. Could be other targets as well. I think the Rabble Masters are reasonable for this matchup as well.
Okay.
The Black-White deck doesn't have a lot of sweepers. The only thing you're really that worried about is Drown in Sorrow. So I think it's worth bringing in.
So we had our conversation on if Rhinos moo or if they don't moo. And that conversation will probably continue for the duration of the weekend. One thing I can promise you that does not moo, Patrick, is Squirrel Confidant.
It does not. You can see Scheme-In with the Panda. Lord only knows what they're up to. And you get 2 copies of these tokens every time you enter a Legacy Open, and as we do every time with the StarCityGames.com Creature Collection series, we see playmats, deck boxes, dice bags, sleeves, the whole 9. So if you like this thing, and you should, and we see them at tournaments all the time, go over to Star City Games, pick it up now, and of course, if you enter a Legacy Open, we give you 2 of those tokens.
Legacy Open tomorrow should be fun to watch. I know the first one, of course, was won by Bob Wang playing Blue-Red Delver with Swift Spears and Treasure Cruises, and didn't know if those cards were going to have a huge effect on the format. They certainly do.
It's a brave new world now in Legacy, and I think Modern is going to be the same thing as well. Dig Through Time and Treasure Cruise are going to really influence that format.
I'll be very excited to see what happens tomorrow because I haven't covered a Legacy Open for what feels like forever.
Yep. I think that people will have to start considering main decking Relic of Progenitus. Assuming they're not really using their graveyard for very much, I think it's worth considering maybe playing 2 copies in your main deck.
It's going to be interesting how things change because of Treasure Cruise, and I don't think that Dig Through Time is going to have a huge effect on Legacy. I think Treasure Cruise is definitely the better of the 2. I don't want to say best of the bunch. It's the better of the 2 Delve cards, but that card had a huge effect on things, and Bob's deck did a really, really nice job of, using that card and Swift Spear in a very positive way to get the job done.
People nuke their entire graveyards in Legacy to play a Tombstalker, and a 5/5 flyer isn't even very good in Legacy.
Yeah.
So drawing 3 cards has to be worth the cost.
I'm going to see a lot of it tomorrow.
I think so too.
Both players going to draw their 7 cards. Charlie Mitchell will be on the play here. He does at least have a copy of Ramaz in his hand. Looks like he's happy with what he sees. We'll see if Jacob Shaker is okay.
This is a very play-draw biased matchup too.
The red decks can just, they run you out of the gym pretty quick. They don't do anything impressive. Their best card is probably Stoke the Flames or Rabble Master depending on the build. But doesn't have to be sexy every time. Just has to get the job done.
Yeah, it's these decks are a lot about capitalizing on what other decks, the failings of other decks. When you and I are both battling with Siege Rhinos, yeah, we can take damage off of our lands and have lands come into play tap. It doesn't matter. The game's about who has the most powerful stuff. But the further and further down that line you go, the more like something like Mono Red becomes viable. And Jacob playing only 17 lands in his build.
This is the Despise. Looks like 4 mountains to go along with 2 copies of a Crone Crusader, so not a great mulligan here for Shaker. I don't think he can mulligan again with that hand.
I think he can.
You think so?
He's already that hand's already a 5-card hand because he doesn't need a 4th land.
Sure.
So I think that you can do better than 2 copies of a Crone Crusader.
Next Fleece Ram might be the end boss either way.
Womp womp.
Does that move? Should it?
No. Bad.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So that sounds right.
I think that's what they do. It makes it very hard for a red deck to win. I believe this is a coordinated strike. This is going to be able to force through a little bit of damage.
I like the block there.
Good. Strong block. Strong block from Charlie. Chaos Golios is the draw.
Now this gets to be the other side of the equation here, where someone like Black White gets to say, "What are you even doing playing with those cards?
Yeah,
you've got to be kidding me."
Game 1 was a beating from Shaker. Looks like Game 2 is going to be a beating from Mitchell.
A Chrono Crusader v. Brumaz has not historically been a fair matchup.
How could you say that? Anyone's game. There are the blocks. Looks like it's going to be a Titan Strength. Now, I hope that Mitchell did not forget his trigger for his little kitty cat, since it's block after all. There we go. So he's got a. He may have missed it at this point. It may have been too late. Because of course, when you block, then the trigger happens, and you get your cat, and Shaker had cast the Titan Strength. And we'll get a little bit of clarification there with our table judge, but it looks like that's what's going to be the case, as Mitchell will remember the trigger with the Nyx Fleece Ram. So looks like we do have confirmation. And he did miss the Brumaz trigger, but he did get the Nyx Fleece Ram trigger, and he's still sitting at a very healthy 20, as he will play a Temple of Silence. Scry, leave that card on top. The draw for the turn was Elspeth. A little surprised to see that in the deck after sideboard.
Well, yeah, and he also has a Thoughtseize in hand, too. So, a lot of less than ideal cards.
Yeah.
I think he left 100-handed one on top.
That's probably hard to beat.
Well, I think that 100-handed one plus Monstrous is pretty close to a lock for this mono red build. Man, I'm not even kidding. I mean,
I just like that that's the lock. 100-handed one plus Monstrosity that's it. I think it's time. Yeah.
Okay.
4-mana 3/5 Vigilance, which is already tough.
Already cannot beat that.
Yeah. And as long as this thing is monstrous, it has reach and can block an additional, yes, of course, 99 creatures. And 100-handed one, take it down.
Yep. That is a really bad card for Mono Red Dead to play against, because you can't even stoke it.
Yeah. That's just tough. That's all that is. Charlie Mitchell going to even it up here against Shaker.
It's hard enough to beat it when it's a one-handed one. And when it goes to 100-handed one, then forget about it.
That might be one of my favorite flavor cards from, the recent handful of years.
Theros has a lot of hits when it comes to the flavor department.
Yeah, really do. It's just a quality set. Definitely enjoyed it.
Do you think, I love asking these questions about, has this ever occurred in a game of Magic? Has anyone ever generated more than 100 attackers to punch through a 100-handed one that was monsters? In any Magic game ever, tournament or otherwise?
I would say in the dark, yes.
Okay.
Commander exists, and there are some funky things that can happen.
Right.
So in the dark, I would say yes.
All right, so does someone generate more than 100 to attack through a 100-handed one without going infinite? They made something like 147 tokens.
That's the big question.
Yeah, that's a big question.
That's the big question.
If they go infinite, that's kind of cheating, but...
Yeah, there could be a situation where you're playing a Magic line, you just don't feel like clicking anymore. 47 extra should be
worn
enough.
out.
Yeah, that should be enough to get over the top. Speaking of flavor, call that a transition to the business. Cardboard Crack. We got some paperback books now.
We do. StarCityGames.com/cardboardcrack. This is a very popular Magic the Gathering themed cartoon. I see it come through my social media feed quite frequently. People are very enthusiastic about this, and we're happy to. I believe this is very recently the second book got printed, and now we have everything available for you, $12.99 each. Again, StarCityGames.com/cardboardcrack if you're interested in ordering.
I follow Cardboard Crack on Twitter.
Okay.
Absolutely, I do. I need my magic humor.
Okay. I'm looking to follow less people on Twitter, not more.
Yeah,
so,
I know. You just want to be in your own little world by yourself,
no,
left alone.
I'm not saying that.
Yet you're on a social media website.
I'm not saying that. I'm just saying.
What are you saying?
I'm just, the opportunity cost for me to add is high.
Okay.
That's all I'm saying.
I just recently followed
Chandler
enjoy Parsons on Twitter.
But I do enjoy those comics.
I do too.
Their hit rate.
That's a solid follow on Twitter.
Right.
Solid follow.
The hit rate is good.
There are some things that are bad follows on Twitter. That's a solid follow.
That's a solid follow. If you enjoy Magic and you enjoy humor, it's a high upside follow for you. And the books you also enjoy, so
there should
be
be
sure
like
to check it out.
1 to 5 or 1 to 10 scale on like the followability of someone on Twitter.
Oh, that should just be if Google could find some way to aggregate that data, that would be incredible.
Yeah, just is this person a good follow? Turns out, no.
Yep, be great to have that information ready to go. Or there was some sort of neutral arbitration / committee of judges that would tell you how good someone was.
That would be great. That'd be really good if that was a thing that existed. There are a lot of good follows out there. If you like food, David Ochoa, great follow.
Great follow.
It's a Foundry Street Denizen to start. Here's a Soldier of the Pantheon
and this is what I was talking about this being a valuable sideboard card here is just block.
Well, that's all you need. 2 triggers here from the Foundry Street Denizen. Here's the attack. Yeah.
Block.
Can't block fast enough.
Take 1. Try to get to your Bermazes, to your High Sentinels, your 100-handed ones. Just concern yourself with your life total. That is it.
High Sentinel's the draw. I think there's another Soldier of the Pantheon in the grip. Here's a Swamp. That's a Despise. That's good. Assuming there's a spell, or excuse me, there's something. Oh, no, there's nothing to take.
Nope.
Wow.
This deck's pretty spell heavy. I mean, there's 19 spells in the main deck, and if you brought in the 4th copy of Stoke, that's 20.
Yeah, Stoke the Flames, Dragon Mantle, and Titan Strength says there's nothing to take, oddly enough. Here's the second Soldier to block. Pass the turn back. Shaker will draw.
As bad as that Despise looks, Charlie can afford to mulligan in this kind of matchup. It's about what does the board look like more than raw card count.
Dragon Mantle. Trigger, draw a card. So Spirit gets a little bit bigger, too, because of prowess. Mountain is the draw for Shaker. That's going to come into play. You saw his draw for the turn was a copy of Hammerhand. Don't know when he's going to cast that one. Again, he's got Stoke and Titan Strength as well.
I think that if he was willing to put the Dragon's Mantle on the Swift Spear, then he could send only Swift Spear this turn, pump it, and save the Hammerhand for a following turn where he wants to push through that blocker. Now, I feel like Jacob's hand's sort of forced here. Like, he needs to Hammerhand this turn because I don't feel like he can afford to just lose the Foundry Street Denizen.
Sure, Mitchell really can't block the other creature because it's just a 2/3, so he's pricing to just having to block here. Here's a Titan Strength.
That's what I'm saying. The lines of play that I like that turn are either just do whatever you're going to do, all in the Swift Spear and attack only with that, force a jump block or a lot of damage, or play the Hammerhand this turn and then commit the Foundry Street Denizen. But I don't like losing something inside of combat. Jacob's playing very resource light, so he can't afford to be trading resources like this.
6 of damage is going to come across. Let's see if Mitchell has something to play this turn. Looks like he does not. His hand is 3 lands and then High Sentinels. There is Mogus's Warhound. We're going to bestow that and give the beatdowns. Very nice. Draw a card here, Will Mitchell.
And now he's got Hammerhand on the leftovers.
That means the High Sentinels is not going to be great. Shaker going to quickly untap. He will draw a card. Another copy of Titan Strength.
This might just be lethal, right?
There's a potential for that. There's
Hammerhand. This is +2, and Titan Strength is +4.
Yeah. Is that a lot of damage.
That is a lot of damage.
Yep. That's a lethal attack, and that's going to do it. Jacob Shaker is going to win this match over Charlie Mitchell. 2-1, and Mono Red Aggro moving on. It is 5-0.
A little boss slide, although very different.
I mean, a little bit different.
It's a lot of the same principles. You know, play 17 lands. Your card advantage is you draw all spells, and your opponent draws some lands.